episode of Two Poets, the show where Ben and I write poetry and talk about creative things. We are once again happy you are here to join us for the show, whether on YouTube or, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for joining in. Ben,
Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going good, man. It has been a crazy last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think it's been a crazy last couple of weeks for you too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We are making some changes. I talked to the last episode about we're moving to the city.
Yeah, you're getting out of here.
So that's going pretty good. I got a job in the city and I've been driving back and forth, so that's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it was like an hour and a half there, hour and a half back.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half. Yeah. It's not bad.
Probably more because you're actually heading to the downtown area.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, people drive slow in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that would be the case. Like, I thought I was going to have to keep up. No.
Not so much.
People drive slow everywhere. So, yeah, learned that lesson. That was good. But, yeah, it's been good. It's been a fun time. Hogan's got art projects coming up.
Nice.
And they're finishing up their stuff for the spaceship, which is really cool. Not finishing, they're starting, but they're doing a lot. So, yeah, what about you, man?
I got in a car wreck today.
You had a crazy incident.
Yeah, it's been a fun day for me today. So, I was heading into the shop this morning because I am currently restoring an old chair for my neighbor. The top of the chair, dining chair, it broke off. And so it kind of splintered some places and completely broke off clean. So I told him I'd do a restoration on it for him. And so I was heading down to the shop to work on that today. And I was just a couple blocks from work, and I had a green light. I was going, whatever I think the speed limit's like either 25 or 30 downtown there. And just this big Ford F-250 just ran a red light.
It's the 250s.
Yeah, luckily, I saw it in time. It's at one of those dumb intersections where they don't line up correctly.
The lane's
the lane does this S curve, So it's harder to see when they're coming from this area. But anyways, he just ran the red light. Luckily, I saw him in time, hit my brakes, hit him pretty good, but didn't hit him hard enough for the airbag to deploy.
Okay.
So, but pretty sure it totaled my car. I'm still I didn't have a fully crunched front end, nothing like that, but my radiator just and spraying stuff all over the floor.
I saw in the pictures, it looks like there was some green liquid under your car there. Man, I'm glad you're okay. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah, it was not fun. And I was fine. He's fine. But now hours later, I'm oh my gosh, my shoulders. I feel it now, where it was. Because, you tense up. Mm-hmm. You're slamming on the brakes and then you have the adrenaline. So you're oh yeah, I feel fine. It's nothing but then later on, you're oh wow, now my shoulders are
man,
tense and stiff. But yeah.
Did you run into him or did he?
Yeah, I ran into him. Okay. Yeah, because he ran the light. If I didn't hit my brakes, he probably would have got me, head on rather than me hitting him head on. So, but yeah, I just dinged his truck up a little bit.
It was not an admission of guilt. I was not saying it was Corey's fault that he ran into him. Yeah. Just so we're clear on that.
Just luckily I saw him enough to hit my brakes. So I was the one diving the nose into him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad you're okay. When Hogan said you had that, I was afraid it was your other car. Yeah. Because you were just telling us how you paid it off.
Exactly.
And I was no.
We literally just paid it off yesterday. Man. No, it wasn't that. But the funny thing is, I was talking to my in-laws because I was they're selling their truck. And I was let me know if you're selling it because, I need a truck. I'd rather have a truck than my car that I have. And they're oh, yeah. We were going to sell it to you first anyways if you wanted it. I was
Sweet.
Great. And then today my car is I'm pretty sure it's totaled. So I'm I guess I'm getting that truck
some insurance money.
Heck yeah. Yeah, so
that works out good.
Yeah, that was my day, and then having to call the insurance company and get all that figured out. And so I hate that part of it.
That's not the fun part at all. None of it's fun, but that's definitely not a fun part.
Yeah, so my car is sitting in the wrecker yard now, so I'm well, now I got to go get all my stuff out of the car and deal with all that. So
and now you got to shuffle the car that you do have.
Yeah, and luckily her parents will let me borrow the truck for right now.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. Cool, man. Yeah, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad that wasn't worse than it could have been.
So if you're listening, don't run red lights.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's not fun for anyone.
No, just don't do it.
But yeah, so that was pretty much my day. Other than that, I mean, nothing really else exciting has been going on, or I'll probably think of it after this is done. And
same. Yeah. I'm usually that way. Usually we record and then I go home, and later that night I'm like, dang it, why didn't I talk about this other thing?
Yeah. Oh,
I always do
I
that.
guess one thing we need to talk about is we didn't record last week and put an episode out last week.
Right.
And the reason is because Oklahoma got hit with a bunch of storms. So we had some scary tornado stuff coming through. Mm-hmm. And so one of the nights I text Ben, I was like, hey, it looks like it's going to storm tonight. And if it's like lightning and heavy rain, like it messes up our recording because we're in my back office and like you can hear everything through these windows when it's storming. So I'm like, that's not going to sound good on the recording. So let's just hold off. And all of a sudden we had like 80-mile-per-hour wind coming through Enid and debris everywhere. I had like tree limbs all over my ceiling and
man.
And then we tried to reschedule, but then there was more storms that came through and Tulsa got knocked out of power. It's weird.
Oh yeah, Tulsa is out of there. Some places still out of power. I think. Man, that was crazy. A lot of the businesses I follow on Instagram are posting about they can't open. You know, because they don't have power. Anything.
Yeah, state of emergency in Tulsa right now.
I hate that.
Yeah, so that's why we didn't have an episode out last week. So if you're mad at us, be mad at God. As they say, act of God, those are storms, right?
Yes, it's God's fault.
No, not really. Don't strike us.
Please don't.
It was a joke.
You'll start another storm.
All right. So the poem or the prompt for poems that we got last week was from Hogan Burley. So thanks again, Hogan, for another prompt making it. And the theme was a time you truly felt free or felt yourself. What do you mean felt yourself?
Felt yourself.
So that's what we wrote our poems about.
Yeah.
This
is a good prompt.
This was, because whenever I got this one, I was like, oh, great. All right, here we go. It's gonna open some stuff up on the show. Yeah.
Cool.
Who wants to go first, I guess?
You want to go first? Huh? I think I went first the last.
Oh, yeah, so I guess it is my turn to go first. Okay.
Go for it.
So I wrote this, and I only read through it once. So I'm reading it fresh again for the second time.
Nice.
So if I don't have the cadence down or anything, whatever. I didn't name this one. I forgot to name it. Right now it's just named episode 8 poem.
I've never done that. I name everything.
I think I'm going to call this one I Like the Purple Flowers.
Ooh, okay.
I'm making the executive decision right now. I'm calling it I Like the Purple Flowers.
Nice.
Okay. Here we go. This is my poem on a time you truly felt free or felt yourself. The month of March, the 15th day, the year was 2021. We took a walk, I held your hand, we passed purple flowers along the sidewalk that were bathing in the sun. My insides were nothing more than a twisted aberration of knots and pins and an unsettling feeling of what was about to happen on this lovely, nearly spring day. I've played this over and over in my head for months. I've practiced what should be said, but now I am faced with the reality of now or never. I just want to be free. I began to speak and form my words, and you listened ever so calmly. First, confusion, then compassion. I didn't expect it to go this way, but then again, I didn't know which way this would be heading. I explained the metaphorical chains I sustained by locking myself inside a cell in my head. The little boy with the secret too ashamed to tell for the fear of hell and being the outcast one would tell of in sermons. You see, I've kept a secret for 35 years, afraid of being the one who becomes the outcast, the shunned, the one who doesn't get talked about at family dinners, that I would no longer be invited to. But you accepted me, you loved me just as I am, you comforted me as we continued to walk hand in hand, and those purple flowers along that sidewalk became a symbol that I will always remember of this very day. A day where the vines fell off by the wayside, and as I walked it, as if I were floating. One simple conversation, no ulterior motives, just honesty. And since that day, I've been free to be myself with you by my side.
Yeah. That's deep, man.
Oh, yeah. I would say.
I love it. Okay. I'm going to be thinking about that one. That's a good one, dude.
Well, thank you.
I feel like it took some courage to read that.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that is. Yeah. Good for you, man. So I wrote about a time when I did my first ever like actual spoken word piece in front of a live audience. And that was really cool. I didn't title this one either. So
there you go.
But yeah, this was like the first time I actually had the chance to write intentionally for something set to music.
Oh yeah.
And all that. And so, so this is about like the moments leading up to that performance and kind of like the nervousness and the jitters and, you know, and all that stuff. So, the exhilaration and then the like feeling of doing it. So, I don't know. I'll probably just call it like performing live or something like that.
Cool.
Which is cool. So I observed the crowd from backstage, the air full of murmurs, light laughter, the occasional cough. The band behind me stood in a circle, holding hands, offering up a final prayer before finding their platform marks. This would be my first major performance. An original spoken word piece, written and memorized, accompanied by live music, performed twice. The camera crew was scattered throughout the auditorium, ready to record. No cue cards, no backup, just me in a spotlight at center stage. Break a leg, somebody whispered as they walked past, finding their mark. Thanks, you too, I whispered back, mostly to myself. The auditorium dimmed. The music began. I had about 45 seconds. All eyes turned to a screen overhead as a video montage played, the narrator's deep voice filling every square inch of the room. The video ended. The band began their song. That was my cue. I could feel all eyes shift from the screen to me as I stepped into the spotlight, landing on my mark. Here we go, I thought to myself. I was made for this.
Nice.
And that's that.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the build up leading to that actual thing and the anticipation and all that like emotion, you know?
Yeah.
And the exhilaration of like stepping out on stage, like doing your own stuff and performing in front of people and like having the chance to kind of show people who you really are. And
absolutely.
Yeah, so,
and it's like, it's super vulnerable up there when you're not just like a part of the band or something or a part of an ensemble. It's like, nope, they're all watching you.
And it was interesting because the first one, because I did a piece twice, it was the same piece and it was 2 different events like back to back. And so the first piece, I almost flubbed a word, but I didn't, but I kind of caught it mid-word. And then the second piece just like was really smooth and like did it. And so yeah, it was really good because at that time I had done some little stuff here and there, but it was always like in little local, you know, open mic nights and stuff like that. So it was my first time in front of like a live audience and stuff, and that was really cool. So
nice.
It was a good time.
Yeah. I remember like, so, you know, talking about like leading up to the show or leading up to the curtain, you know, and all the jitters and everything goes before it. So like when I used to like tour and play music, like before every show, I would still get jitters all the time. And my pre-show ritual was, I gotta pee.
Yeah.
It was always, I gotta pee.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, one more time. And then you go, yeah, totally get that. I've had some people say they have anxiety right before they do something and they intentionally do something to stress themselves out, to distract themselves from the thing they're going to go do. So like there's a girl I follow on Instagram. She's a barista and she has competed on like big stages. And she was doing a live one day and somebody asked her, what do you do for nerves? And she said, well, I don't recommend this, but I do something that stresses me out. So I juggle the mugs that I'm pouring in right before I compete. and the intensity of juggling and potentially breaking something that I've practiced in, like gets all my focus on that and takes the stress away for when I go to pour, because I don't break it. And then I'm good and I'm ready to go. And I'm like, I do not suggest that. That's really extreme. But yeah, so it's funny how people handle like different forms of stress for sure. I'm probably not brave enough to try that, because just the anxiety of having to get out and do something and then forcing myself to do something like that, I'm gonna break it and then I'm screwed because I don't have anything. So, and
then you're probably doing it there where people are watching, and then you break something, and
everyone's
like, now looking at you, what an idiot. Nowadays, everyone's gonna have their lives going on their phones, and all of a sudden they all pan to you anyway. So.
Yes.
I mean, I guess that would get the nerves out from pouring.
Probably so. Yeah. By the time you get up there, you're like, oh, I didn't break a mug, I'm good, and then you're just like steady as a rock. But yeah, man, that's so funny.
It's weird, and like I'll find myself sometimes getting nervous on things I shouldn't get nervous about. And like there was times like behind bar, like working at Da Vinci's, when I'd be working on latte art and pouring and doing stuff for customers all the time, but the minute someone would be like, oh, I want to watch you, I'm like,
oh crap. Yeah.
I just like start shaking. I'm like, why am I shaking doing this? People watch me do this all the time. But the minute someone's like, I'm going to intentionally watch how you do this, and they're asking you questions, and I'm like, oh crap, now I'm shaking, and I don't know why I'm shaking, because I'm not nervous. It's just my body's like, oh, something's on the line.
Every time we would go to a competition, didn't matter like how many people were there, how big or small, you go behind the bar and your first pour, you're always like,
yep,
because you're so nervous. And it's so weird how that happens. But you're like, I've poured thousands of times. You think I'd have this down, but every time, I'm so jittery.
Pour where a whole like cafe is watching you every day, but
there's no way around it. You just gotta like accept the jitters. You just gotta, your body just has to like absorb the jitters.
Yes.
And channel them.
All right. So speaking of jitters and anxiousness and worry, that's going to lead into our topic that we're going to talk today. So we were kind of hanging out last night and talking about some different ideas and stuff, and what, kind of things we go through, what other people go through, and the topic of like, what do you do when you just don't want to do anything popped up? Like, what do you do when you're just like, oh, it's just been a tough week and I just don't have any inspiration, I don't feel motivated, but you're a creative person, or you typically have a job that relies on you doing things like that. Like, what do you do when you don't feel like doing it?
Yeah, that's a all too relatable place to be for sure. I don't know. I think sometimes just the act of doing something kind of helps, whether it's actually just forcing yourself to do the thing, or it's returning back to something that you used to do a long time ago that you actually enjoyed, whether it's an exercise or a review or, or something like that. But one of the things I wrote down is just return to basics.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just remember the things that got you into what you're into, and give yourself the chance to just kind of take a second and forget about the pressure, and then go back to the original inspiration of like why you do what you do, why you love it, what inspires you from that standpoint, not from a standpoint of I have to put this out, I have to be intentional. That is something that's helped me a little bit in the past. Just it's so easy to just kind of forget why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. And it kind of helps to be like, I remember when I would just carry a notebook around with me for fun, and I would go sit somewhere and people watch and just write down little things about people. And it really does kind of help. It's like a reset. Yeah. Kind of like resets your brain and takes your focus away from the like demanding task and puts your focus back on just the creative aspect of the why. Yeah. Basically.
I like that a lot. I think I hadn't thought about that, but I think that is very important. Yeah. Like, all right, let's look at this from the standpoint of, say, a chef, right? And you need to come up with a new menu or new menu item, or you're having some new weekly specials you got to come up with, but you're just like, I can't think of anything. I'm just so busy. Like, I don't have the time to really think about creating something new, but maybe, the restaurant owner's like, hey, we need to do this, we do this weekly. And then, you feel yourself getting burnt out. I kind of like the idea. Okay, let's put that concept to use. You know, going back to the basics. Like, yeah, you know what? Don't worry about it. Why don't you just go cook yourself some eggs?
Oh yeah,
the basics, right? Go just cook yourself some eggs. Simple, easy. Have fun with it. Add a little twist to it. Just have fun. And I think, like you're saying, just the act of, okay, I may not be doing that thing I need to do right now, but I'm going back to the basics and still doing the thing, which is cooking.
Yeah.
But I'm just sticking with the basics, having fun, doing a little twist to this. And yeah, I think that just even doing that will allow your mind to reset, because now you've kind of let go of that worry and you're just having fun, going back to the basics of cooking an egg, you know. Totally. And then, yeah, I feel like that could free up your mind to be like, okay, that felt good. That's a quick reminder, you know, or I think that's a good idea. That's
good refreshing yourself, refreshing your senses, and refreshing your original instincts or intentions, I think.
Or if you're like an illustrator or something, just go back to drawing shapes and then draw shapes and then start making faces out of those shapes.
Totally.
You know, those old practices you used to do where you do triangles, you do cubes, you do cylinders, and then you start stretching those shapes and start making funny faces out of them, you know, going back to those principles. And when you used to just have fun doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go back to the fun. Yeah. Like, remember the things that were actually fun to do.
Yeah.
Find a way to incorporate the fun into, like, whatever it is you have going on. I think that's a good place to go.
Yeah. And then, and so, you know, when we feel like, well, you know, I did that. I went back to the fun. I had the basics, but I just have this block of I can't seem to get anything out, and I just don't feel like putting the work in right now. And you actually sent me a video last night, that Donald Miller video. Yeah. And I was like, that's actually a really good idea too. Yeah, you know, because in that video, Donald Miller talked about, even if I don't have the motivation, I don't know what to do, I'm still going to go through the motions of it, which is like, I'm going to go to that coffee shop, I'm going to open my computer, I'm going to just write random babble, you know, and then just still, even if I don't create anything, I'm still going through the motion to train your mind that this is what we're going to do every day, whether you like it or not, because it needs to get done. And then eventually it's just kind of second nature, you know?
Yeah, it's like getting your brain into the routine so that eventually you will catch up, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was really good, because I was like, what are you going to do? You're just going to sit around the house and mope about you can't think of what you have to do? Like, at least go, like you said, go to the coffee shop or go to the place that you normally go, because a lot of times inspiration is not just in your head. Inspiration is a location, or inspiration is a smell or a feeling or a place. And most of the time, I mean, the more you get inspired is not by what you are currently thinking, it's by where you are or what you're eating, or, you know, or whatever. So I thought that was really good. I thought that was really sound advice, and very, very simple. I feel like it should be really simple.
Something anyone can do, easy steps, you know.
Practical is like, if you don't know what to do, like, just go through the motions and go back to basics.
And I think the important thing too is don't be hard on yourself if you show up to go through the motions and nothing comes out. Yeah. You know, be proud that you at least took the steps to go out the door.
You went there.
You did it. Yes. You sat down at the desk. You opened up your word processor. You pulled out your notebook, and you even got one sentence down. Like, you still good. You went through the process. You fought the urge to just wait till tomorrow. Yeah. You know, for me, that's one thing I deal with a lot is
hard.
I'm not feeling it right now. I'll just do it tomorrow. Yeah. A week goes by and you're like, well, crap. And I could have gotten so much done in that week. Yeah. You know, and so, I think it's important is also, because I think that the biggest part of why we have block and stuff, because we don't want it to be bad and we don't want to be hard on ourselves about it. You know, because we are our worst critics and we will be hard on ourselves.
Totally. And my thing is, if I can't write it and it's perfect in 15 minutes, it sucks. And that's like, I've had to really fight through that, because I want it to be good and I want it to be me, and I don't want to sit there and labor over it and force it. And there's that underlying stigma against, you shouldn't have to force it. It should be natural. It should be inspirational. And some things you really have to labor over, because if you don't, then you're just going to put out that in your head that one day it sounded good. Tomorrow it's going to sound like crap because you didn't spend any time on it.
Yeah.
So you do have to kind of labor over it. And the laboring part is the part that I'm like, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yep.
You know? And so I put it off, and then it's like, oh crap. Now I'm forced to do it, whether I like it or not. And I don't have the time. So yeah, man, it's totally like making yourself go through the motions, writing the thing, giving yourself a break, but coming back to it, like giving yourself the adequate time to focus on it. Yeah, man, that's so true. Cause it's so easy just to be like, oh, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it. I'll wait till I'm inspired.
Yeah. It's
that's the worst
so
thing
easy.
You can do. Wait till you're inspired.
Yeah. And like, so switching to like a songwriter perspective, like those listening, if you're like musically and for writers too, this will be helpful too. It's like one thing, some great information I learned a long time ago when it came to like songwriting is when you feel like you have writer's block, when you feel like you can't think of anything, it's just write something stupid. You know, it's like string 3 chords together, sing about the sofa in the room, sing about the lights over your head, sing about that annoying bird outside, you know, and by doing that, you're getting the mind to work. You're getting your mind to do the thing. You're stepping into that routine, you know, and you're laughing about it and you're having fun. And that's going to like, oh, your brain's going to be like, oh, something. This is fun. Yeah, it's triggering something. This is fun, you know? And I feel like same for writers too. Like, you don't know what to write? Start writing about whatever's in the room. Start writing. I heard this, I don't remember where I heard this, but yeah, it was Rick Rubin. He a lot of his advice to songwriters when they need to write something and they're struggling with writing songs is he says, write about what you want to write about. So write 2 sentences of what you want the song to be about. Okay. Then write an essay about that.
Oh, interesting.
And then after you write the essay, write an even longer essay about that before. Write until you can't write anymore about that idea that you want to write about. And then through that process, you will now know that intimately, that idea you want to talk about. And then you will pull from all those essays you wrote about this 2-sentence idea you want to get across.
That's some intense work.
Oh, yeah. Like, and obviously that's not for everybody. Like some people don't need that, but for those that are having struggle, and obviously I don't think that'll work for everybody because some people can probably write and still not get anything out of it. But I thought that was a cool idea. It's like, well, if you're having trouble writing, just write a whole bunch of gibberish about
everything
what
you can say about that. Yeah, totally. Get it all
through
out.
That, it's going to come out, you know, and then you just start piecing it together.
That's a really smart concept to actually take the idea and then write out the reason or the thoughts behind it. That makes a lot of sense. That's there's so much footage coming out right now over the last like couple of years about the Beatles and about their songwriting process. And there's footage of them in the recording studio. I saw a clip of it. I didn't see the actual thing, but in the clip, I'm pretty sure it is George, and he's talking about a song that he's starting to write, and he's singing a line, and he's like, I don't know what to say right here. And John, I don't remember what he said, but he said, oh, just say this and this until you actually figure out what you want to say. So that way we can sing the song and we'll just say, you know, whatever the random words were until we figure out what fits there.
Oh, because then you're not putting a halt on the creative process.
You're not stopping the flow. Yeah. So you can sing the song and then say ham and eggs or whatever it is you want to throw in there until you figure out what would fit there that would make the most sense lyrically, but also make the most sense stylistically with the music. And I was like, that's actually a really smart thing to do because for one, it's silly and you're having fun. 2, you're not stopping the creative process.
I like that. Yeah.
And 3, you're like engaging your brain collectively as a group to be like, what actually would fit there? Because the person who originally wrote the song got everything in motion and someone else is going to be like, oh, this would actually work there. And then they can work on it together. And I was like, that's really smart.
That is smart.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. Cause you don't want to slow the flow of creativity if it's already rolling. So rather than bringing everything to a halt and being that jerk who's like, no, we can't continue until we figure this out. It's like, no, skip past that. Come back to it later.
Yeah.
I think that's another good tip. Come back to it later.
Yes. Seriously. That's a good one. Cause if you are at a point where you're like, I cannot force anything, then just move on. Just go to something else, go to the next line or go to something else and work on it and then come back. But
yeah, I was writing some notes down too. And like one of the notes I put, when you're struggling to come up with something, or you're just burnt out and you're just like, I just have nothing left in me, or you're just like, I just wanted to do it today. One of the notes I wrote is take some time away. So step away from it, kind of like we were just saying, go to the park, go to the zoo, go just do something different. That there are times we need to recognize in our creative processes that there are times where you need to take a day off.
Yes.
You need to reset your brain. You need to reset your physical health, your mental health, because those are so important when it comes to, the art that you create, because you're going to struggle so much mentally over, not being able to create something that it's going to affect you physically, and you're going to be tense and you're going to not sleep well. And so just taking that day where you just go out, get some fresh air, go to the zoo, go get some ice cream, go feed the ducks like we talked about last episode. Go do something.
Clear your head. I
think it's very important. Would you agree?
I would totally agree with that. I tend to get stuck on things. So if I have an idea for something and I decide I don't like it, it's still very hard for me to shake that initial idea and go a different direction, because all I can think about is, well, this is what my original idea was. So if you give yourself that chance to clear your head, get some space, you can kind of work that idea that is not going to work. You can kind of give it some time to just disappear, and then you can find inspiration somewhere else. I think that's a really good way to reset.
Yeah, I think it's good too. And then another thought I had is, when you find yourself working on a project that's starting to frustrate you, or you just can't come up with the idea or whatever, is to work on a different project. I think so. If you've got multiple, which if you're a creative person, you've got way more than one project at a time. So when you're struggling with one, it's okay. Stop, go work on another project. Maybe that project you've been putting off, go work on that one first. And then when you're getting to a spot on there, okay, I'm going to go back to the one that I was focusing on. Maybe I've kind of let some of that stress go and worked on another project. And then the next day, if you're feeling the same thing, cool. Go work on the 5th project that you started 2 weeks ago that you put in front of this project. Go work on that one a little bit. I think it's okay and it's healthy to bounce from project to project if you need to. If you find yourself stuck and you don't want to be frustrated, you don't want to interrupt the creative flow.
Totally.
Go work on a different project.
I would totally agree with that. Stagger your projects, or go help someone else on their project.
Yes, that was another thing I wrote down. Yes.
A lot of times I will have ideas for someone else when I see them in their creative element. And that's really helpful for me, because I feel like I work really good in a group setting, which just goes back to why it's so important to have good people around you. But if you have someone that you can go and you can contribute to them, you feel a satisfaction in that, you feel accomplished, and it kind of revitalizes your sense of, oh, okay, I'm actually talented, or I'm actually a creative. I'm not a failure, even though I feel like I've been failing at this one thing. And I think that's another really good way to reset, is just hook up with someone else, focus on what they're doing, collaborate, contribute, and maybe through that, you'll get some fresh inspo out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just collaboration is key for a lot of things. It brings meaning to the project when it's not just you, and it's someone that either is helping you or you're helping them. Collaboration also can mean going out and volunteering, in your community, and like maybe volunteering your skills to go maybe help design a mural for the community, or to, teach an art class at the local community college, or just something, even, or just volunteering for, people that go clean up the streets. Like even just stuff like that, by volunteering your time and your talents, I think is also something that can help you with your mental health and your physical health, and also will hit a couple different things of it'll free up your mind. It'll, you'll be able to stop and go get some fresh air. And then, so it just kind of, it's a good reset button as well.
Kind of gives you an excuse to not think about anything and not judge yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're going out to focus on other people and you're doing a good thing. So you feel good about it. It's a really good reset, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
I 100% agree. Yeah. We're going to find ourselves stuck a lot in projects, especially when you're like us and you have a million projects going on. And then, life gets in the way, and there's a lot of things like getting in a car wreck, having to do with insurances, and I'm like, I had a million things I wanted to do today, and I still got to do work on some things, but then all that stuff gets in the way. And I'm like, I have these woodworking projects I want to do. I have all this writing I want to do. And then, it's going to happen to us all. And then you're in the process of starting a new job and moving, and I know you're writing more stuff. So it's like, it's going to happen.
Always going to be reasons to keep you from doing the things that you're most passionate. And you cannot let the reasons stop you from pressing through and doing the things you want to do. If you give up on the things you want to do, you will never get to the places you want to go.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get stuck focusing on all the things you have to do that you don't want to do. And the feeling of trudging through things you don't want to do kills any motivation you have.
Oh gosh.
For the things you do want to do.
Easily.
So yeah, you gotta be able to allow yourself some freedom and some grace to be able to get into a place to reset, escape from yourself, from your own judgment and your own critique. And I think that's one of the best ways to reset, honestly.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So some key takeaways when you don't know what to do, when you don't feel motivated. 1, step away and take a break.
Step away
and take a break.
Step off.
Number 2, work on something else. Free up your mind, get rid of the stress, go work on something else.
Yes.
Collaborate.
It's a
Stop,
good one.
collaborate, and listen.
Love it.
Volunteer. Yeah, volunteer. Go do something nice in the community. Go do something nice for somebody else, because then it'll inspire you to do something better with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I missing another one?
I don't think so.
4. Oh, good. You got 4 takeaways.
I think those are great takeaways.
Yeah, I think those are great takeaways.
I think we nailed it.
We're like professionals on this topic.
We
now,
know
right?
what we're talking about. You guys better listen to us.
Don't add us.
Please don't come at us for that.
No, I think that's probably a great spot to end it right there.
I think so, man.
Unless you got anything else you want to add to these fine people listening.
I don't think so. I would just say be easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Do not make it harder on yourself. It's already hard enough.
Yes.
The worst thing you can do is critique yourself and tear yourself down. And I should know, because I do that a lot. So
it's just so easy.
It's so easy to do, and you just got to be graceful, and you have to allow yourself to understand it is a process, and processes go through several stages, and some things get refined by fire, and it's not fun and it's painful, but in the end, it's totally worth it, because you end up with something valuable. So
yeah. So your Uncle Corey and Uncle Ben are here to tell you, don't be so hard on yourself.
Don't do it.
I'm like, where's the camera?
Yeah,
that's right.
Don't do it.
Awesome. All right. Man. So hopefully you learned something or got inspired, or, hopefully we did too, just by talking through it.
Yeah.
So next week, we are actually not going to draw a prompt this week, because we decided when we started this that every now and then we would skip a week on drawing a prompt, so that way we can share from our own books, our own stuff that we've written that we want to share with you all. So next week we'll read a couple excerpts from our books.
Yeah.
For you all, read some of our poems, some original poems that we have written, and then talk about those a little bit, and then jump into another topic. So we will not be drawing a prompt this week, but we got 7 new prompts sent to us recently.
Awesome.
So
good.
So thank you all so much for sending in those prompts and everything. And we are going to draw another one next week, just not this week. Sorry about that, everybody. Don't be mad about that either.
We're not apologizing. We do what we want on this show.
But we're excited to share some more of our poems for you guys.
Yes. That is another way. Is a good reset, I think.
Exactly.
That's a good way to reset.
It's another good way for us to reset, is we don't have to stress out about writing something awesome, and we can just share our hearts with you from our books that we've written. So Yeah, so that's what's going on next week. Thank y'all so much for listening and the kind emails that we've been getting. Thank y'all so much for that. Shout out to you, Eric. It was nice to hear you, buddy.
Yeah, it was good to hear from you.
And so, we'll see y'all next week, I guess, right?
All right, I guess so.
Yeah, as always, I'm Corey.
I'm Ben.
See ya.
Peace.